Hello everybody, we're going to be talking about some axle housings today. Hope you're in for a rip-roaring good time. We love axle housings. Anyhow, the axle housings primarily I'm going to talk about are the SSD. The plastic housed pumpkin with the metal tubes on both sides. They are held on, each side is held on by 3 screws. One on the front, one on the back, and one on the top of the axle. We've had these tubes on for roughly 8 months now, and as soon as we went brushless, we've noticed a problem with the tubes. Now, take this with a grain of salt. I could possibly just have a bad tube. It could have been slightly defective from the factory, and the brushless just finally showed itself. Keep in mind, I had these tubes on the front and the rear. You'll see the rear one's different now. It's brand new. We'll talk about that in a second. What I'm noticing is there's play between the tubes and the plastic center, even with all the screws tightened down. The other part is, I've always Loctited and tightened these screws every time I did service. This screw was perfectly fine the very last time I did service. It tightened down, it was tight. And mind you, the last time I did service was literally right before his last run. So he's only got 1 run on these since I did my last service. Since then, this screw has stripped itself out. Therefore, you know, it's possible I got a bad tube and it just showed itself. Or it's possible he hit something hard enough that it actually put the force on there. Because you got to realize, the threads on this metal is not very deep. There's steel axles, which we're running Vanquish chromoly axles in his rig. Everything is premium internals that I could have in here. I just don't believe in spending for a 7-year-old $130 on a set of axle housings whenever he's literally full tilt into some stuff. So that's where I'm at. I'm not disappointed in these axles. They held up terrific while he was brushed for a number of months. Never any problems. And brushless with the right driver, being a little bit more mindful what he's doing, these would probably hold up fine. But I like to have known how things happen, what they do whenever they're pushed. These were definitely pushed, and in my opinion, they failed. Like I say, I could just take it with a grain of salt, because I could have just had a bad, defective tube that just finally showed itself. That's quite possible, and it does happen. So take it with a grain of salt. I like the tubes at the price point of $25. You really can't complain. We're going to talk about what I'm replacing that with. If you see my end link video, you'll understand now why I have 2 sets of axles, 2 different axles on the truck. I'm switching over to Boomracing, something more durable because it's one solid casting. It's not pieces screwing together. The tubes are actually part of the cast. So, with that being said, this is what we're switching over to. Definitely more durable. Now, these are a little more expensive at $35 a piece. So I got 2 of these, one for the front, one for the rear. And that's shipped, I do believe. Don't quote me on that. Double check. Dixieland RC is where you get them at. And I think for both of them, it's around $70 some, something like that, shipped. So check it out. I may be off a couple dollars in the price. Don't hunt me down and don't be mad at me. I apologize, but they're close to that. So, but I highly recommend this over the SSD setup for quality and durability, without question. So these are very nice looking though. Whenever you have these put on and the rear one on, because the rear one and front one are slightly different. You can get a rear one that doesn't have the lockout side on it. It basically looks like a Viterra Ascender. It has caps on it for the bearings. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. Like I say, take it with a grain of salt. Everyone's going to run their truck slightly differently, and you'll end up with a little different outcome possibly than what my son did. But that's just our experience. You all take care. Hope you enjoyed. See you on the next one.